Hey guys, I hope you're having a good week. I'm out of the office on Tuesday and Wednesday, so this will be our Zoom recording. So I will not meet with you live on Wednesday. So please make sure you watch the entirety of this video. So last week we started talking about parallel lines and transversals. So this is a continuation of that discussion. We had it on last Wednesday. These are our standards and our learning targets. All right, so like I told you last week, a transversal is a line that crosses two parallel lines. So you can see that lines A and B are parallel. Line T cuts through those two lines, which makes T a transversal. All right, there are videos embedded throughout this slide deck, so please go back and review them if you need to answer some of your questions. I'll be back in the office on Thursday if you need to ask me a specific question. All right, so it says a transversal is a line that intersects two or more coplanar lines at different points. All right, so if you're ever going to find a transversal, you have to make sure first that the other two lines are parallel. And if that's true, then it creates all these different types of lines. We have then corresponding angles, vertical angles, alternate exterior angles. Alternate means on opposite sides of the transversal. And exterior means outside the parallel lines. We also have same side interior angles. We didn't really talk about that last week. If they're interior, that means they're inside the two parallel lines, and these are on the same side of the transversal. And then we have alternate interior angles, which means they're on opposite sides of the transversal if they're alternate. Vertical angles are the angles opposite each other when two lines intersect. They are always congruent. So they're always across from each other. Vertical angles are congruent. So here you see angle A and angle B are vertical angles, which means they're the exact same measurement. All right, here's another good video. It's only 3 minutes long. So if you need more review, please watch this video. Corresponding angle. So when you have a transversal that crosses two parallel lines, you then have corresponding angles. So that means they're in the same position on both parallel lines. So these blue angles are corresponding angles, and corresponding angles are equal. Here we have a big obtuse angle. It would correspond with this angle here. This acute angle would correspond with this one down here. And then underneath the blue angles, this big obtuse angle corresponds with this angle down here on the other parallel line. Alternate interior angles, they're on opposite sides of the transversal, and inside the parallel lines, they are congruent. Alternate exterior, once again, opposite sides of the transversal, outside the parallel lines. That's what makes them exterior angles, and they are equal. They are congruent. All right, so that's just a quick review of our vocabulary that we talked about last week. So could you guys do all of these things? Can you list pairs of angles that are corresponding, vertical, alternate interior, alternate exterior angles? So take a couple of minutes, pause the video, see if you can name all of these different types of angles. All right, the answers are on the next slide. There they all are. Hopefully I didn't make a typo when I was typing those. If you see a typo, please let me know. I hope you guys got most of those right. All right, so now we have a more complicated picture here. But when we're talking about these different types of angles, you are looking for parallel lines, okay? So you can see that this line and this line are not parallel. However, these two lines do appear to be parallel. So when we're finding these types of angles, these pairs of angles, you are always looking toward the two parallel lines, okay? So pause the video, take a look at these, and try to answer these questions. All right, and there are the answers. Once again, if you see an error, please let me know. It wasn't on purpose, I promise. All right, now this is a challenge. So hopefully the first thing you notice is that there is not any parallel lines here. Okay, so most of these, because there's no parallel lines, most of these are there's not going to be pairs of these. But which one, 2, 3, or 4, would we definitely have pairs of? Hopefully you said vertical angles. You don't need parallel lines to create vertical angles. So on the next slide, it says there are no corresponding angles because there's no parallel lines. I've listed all the vertical angles and also alternate interior and alternate exterior angles. There are none. There's no pairs because, once again, there are no parallel lines on this slide. All right, I hope you guys are feeling good. That makes sense. All right, so complementary angles are two or more, could be or more, angles that when you add them together, it equals 90 degrees. All right, so we see that angle AOD and DOB together add up to 90 degrees, which means that these two angles are complementary. All right, so would you be able to figure out the measure of angle X? Well, they gave us an equation. They said, all right, we know complementary angles add up to be 90. So if you subtract 73 degrees from 90 degrees, that means X is 17 degrees. What about this one? What is the value of X? Well, if you set up an equation, you're going to say that X plus 50 is equal to 90. To solve for X, you would subtract 50 from both sides of the equal sign. And this would tell you that the value of X, or the measure of X, is 40 degrees. Can you guys pause the video and find the value of K? So if you set up an equation, you would say K plus 40 equals 90 degrees. You subtract 40 from both sides of the equal sign, and that tells you that the measure of K is 50 degrees. I bet you guys got that right. All right, so now we see these two angles are supplementary. Now, supplementary angles are only congruent if they're both 90 degrees. Supplementary angles are adjacent angles. They share a common side. They're adjacent angles. So when we add 120 plus 60, we do get, in fact, 180 degrees, which makes them supplementary. These angles together form a line, and the measure of any straight line is 180 degrees. So would you guys be able to figure out the measure of angle X? All you got to do is subtract 118 from 180, and that tells you that the measure of angle X is 62 degrees. All right, what about this one? Can you guys figure out what is the value of X? Give it a try. All right, so be careful. Sometimes they look like 90 degrees, but in this case, you'll find out that they're not. Angle X is not 90 degrees, even though it looks on the picture like it would be. All right, so I just noticed that I made a typo on this one because I typed that this measure is 55 degrees, but it isn't. So let me fix that real quick. I'll fix it before I publish this slide deck. All right, so this should be 55 degrees right there. So the equation should be X plus 55 plus 40 equals, since it's supplementary, 180 degrees. All right, so what is 55 plus 40? That would be 95 degrees. 95 degrees equals 180. And then to solve for X, we would subtract 95 from each side. And hopefully you guys already know that the measure of angle X is 85 degrees. 85 degrees. All right, I hope you guys got that right. I'll fix my mistake, like I said, before I publish this. All right, let me get rid of all my writing here. So we have, last week we didn't discuss same side interior and same side exterior angles. So the way we get interior and exterior angles is still the same. It's either inside the parallel lines or outside the parallel lines. The only difference is these say same side instead of alternate So same side means obviously on the same side of the transversal, which means these green angles are same side interior angles. The thing that's true about same side interior angles, they're always supplementary. They always equal 180 degrees when added together. So we have the red ones are same side exterior angles. If you add 117.5 plus 62.5, you'll get 180. We have our blue ones are same side exterior, and our pink angles are same side interior angles. Always supplementary. All right, so here is a good picture. So I'm hoping you guys will pause the video and use this information. Now it changes on each line. So if you find the measure of angle 1 here, it's not the same thing here because they give us different information. Okay, so be careful on that. All right, so pause the video, see if you can combine what you know about different angle relationships to find these missing angles. All right, let's see how you guys did. So I said that if the measure of angle 1 is 38 degrees, it wants to know about angle 4. Well, angle 1 and angle 4 are vertical angles, which means they're congruent. So if the measure of angle 1 is 38 degrees, that means the measure of angle 4 is 38 degrees. So what's the relationship between angles 2 and 5? They are vertical. Vertical angles are congruent. So if this is 90 degrees, that means angle 2 is 90 degrees. Now it gives us new information. If the measure of angle 6 is 51 degrees, what is the measure of angle 1? Well, if this is 90 degrees, that means that these two have to be complementary. So if this is 51, to get the measure of angle 1, I'm going to subtract 51 from 90. And 51 from 90 is 39 degrees. So that's the measure of angle 1 in this scenario. And then the last line, they give us a different scenario. They said, what if angle 3 is 42 degrees? What then is the measure of angle 1? Well, I'm using angles 3 and 6, their relationship, to figure out the measure of angle 1. Angles 3 and 6 are vertical, which means they're congruent. I know that angles 6 and 1 are complementary. So if angle 6 is 42 degrees and I subtract that away from 90 degrees, that tells me that the measure of angle 1 is 48 degrees. I hope you guys got those correct. All right. Oh, there's the answers. I didn't know they gave you the answers. Well, that confirms that I'm right. Good, good, good. I like when I'm right. All right, so here is another quick video. Well, this was a little longer than the other ones, but make sure you watch these as you're answering this week's questions if you need to. All right, so it says, when there's a variable, use your knowledge of angle relationships to create equations. Either set them equal to each other if they're congruent, equal to 90 degrees if they're complementary, or equal to 180 degrees if they're supplementary. Okay, so here we have these two angles, which are corresponding angles. All right, corresponding angles are congruent, which means since this is 90 degrees, we would set 2x plus 10 equal to 90 degrees. And then we would solve for x. And you guys solved equations in 7th grade quite a bit, so you know how to solve two-step equations. So these slides take us through this scenario. They recognize they're corresponding. We're going to set our equation up. We're going to set 2x plus 10 equal to 90. We're going to solve for x by subtracting 10 from both sides. After we subtract 10 from both sides, we divide both sides by 2. And I know that 80 divided by 2 is 40. So this angle isn't 40 degrees. No, the measure of the value of x is 40. And that's what it's asking me right here. What is the value of x? We already know this angle is 90 degrees, but the measure of x is 40. And that's what it's telling us, to be careful. Make sure you pay attention to the question that's being asked. All right, so these are the steps in setting up your equations. All right, so here we have these are same side interior angles. Same side interior angles are supplementary. Or the explanation I used, I said that 4x and this angle are alternate interior angles. Alternate interior angles are congruent. So if this is 4x, that means this is also 4x. So see if you can figure out the value of x. All right, so if you read my description, I say that the angle of measure B has to be 4x. I know that these two angles are supplementary. So I said 4x plus x is equal to 180. I combined like terms. 4x plus 1x is 5x. I set 5x equal to 180. And then to cancel out times 5, you divide both sides by 5. So the value of x is 36 degrees. So that means this angle is 36 degrees. And to get the measure of this angle, I would multiply 4 times 36 to find out the measure of this top angle, this big obtuse angle. And of course, we know that obtuse angles are greater than 90. All right, what about this one? What's the relationship between this angle and this angle? Well, they are alternate exterior angles. Alternate exterior angles are equal to each other, which means I'm going to set 90 minus u equal to u because they are equal to each other. 90 minus u is equal to u. All right, I want to solve for u, so I want to get my u's on the same side of the equal sign. So I did the opposite of minus u, so I added u to both sides of the equal sign. So 1u plus 1u is 2u because we're combining like terms. So my equation says 90 equals 2u. In order to get 2 away from the u, I have to divide both sides by 2. And 90 divided by u is 45. So this angle is 45 degrees. If I plug in 45 here, I know that 90 minus 45 is also 45 degrees, which proves that they are equal to each other. All right, what about the values of x and y? I don't think I solved this one. Nope, I did not. All right, so let's try this one. All right, let me get my pen working here. All right. All right, so what do we know about x and 67? These are adjacent and supplementary. They're adjacent and supplementary. So x plus 67 is supplementary, which means they have to equal 180 together. So to solve for x, I'm going to subtract 67 from both sides. So x is equal to, what would that be? 13, I believe. 113. 113. Yep, 113. So if x is 113, that means that this angle is 113. And that means that this angle and angle y are corresponding. So when angle y is also 113 degrees. And I know about the relationships of these pairs of angles, and that's how we're figuring out the value of each of these variables. All right, let's look at the next one. Next two. What do we know about these two angles? Well, these two angles are complementary, not complementary, they're corresponding, which means they're equal to each other. So if this is 70 degrees, that means angle G is 70 degrees. I like when we don't have to do much math, right? Corresponding angles are congruent. All right, what is the relationship between this angle and this angle? They are alternate exterior angles. Alternate exterior angles are congruent. So we're going to set 2w minus 10 equal, what did I say? I think I said they're congruent. That's what I meant to say. Alternate exterior angles are congruent, which means they are equal to each other. So that's what I do in the equation. So pause the video, see if you can figure out what the measure of w is. All right, so we're going to add 10 to both sides. So we get 2w is equal to 140. And then to solve for w, I divide both sides by 2. So that tells me the value of W is 70. And if I plug in 70 right here, I'm going to get 130 altogether. So the value of W is 70 degrees. The measure of the angle is not 70 degrees, but the value of W is. All right, you guys pause and see if you can figure this one out. All right, so these two angles are same side interior angles. Same side interior angles are supplementary, which means when we add them together, we get 180 degrees. So we're going to write 2W plus 4 plus the second angle, which is 3W minus 9. Since they're supplementary, we're going to set the whole thing equal to 180. Now we're going to combine like terms. So we have 2W plus 3W is 5W. 4 minus 9 is negative 5. And then we're going to bring down our 180. So I hope solving equations in 7th grade is coming back to you guys. To get rid of minus 5, we're going to add 5 to both sides. So then we have 5W is equal to 185. And then how do you get rid of times 5? What's the opposite of times 5? You divide both sides by 5. And I believe that's 36. Yep, 180 divided by 5 is 36. Oh, I switched the screen somehow. Okay, so this is the screen. Even though I changed the screen, this is what I was solving for right here. Now, how do we find out what the measure of each of these angles, what they each measure? Well, we would plug in 36 for W. We would plug in 36 for W. So we would multiply 3 times 36 and subtract 9 to find out the measure of this angle. And on this angle, we're going to multiply 2 times W, and W is 36, and add 4 to find out the measure of this angle. So that would be what? 72 plus 4 would be 76 degrees. No, that's not right. Just kidding. I can't do simple math. 36 times 2 equals plus 4 is 76. Oh, that does not look like that does not agree with the picture because that looks like a big obtuse angle, but that's what I got. And then the one on the bottom, these should be in different places. These should be switched because this one is going to show us that it's 108 minus 9. This one's 99 degrees. So the picture doesn't look right according to our answers. Our answers are right, but the picture doesn't represent our answers. It happens sometimes. All right, next screen. All right, so it's saying, state the angle relationships that justify each statement. They're saying that angle A is similar to angle H. Yes, they are congruent because they're alternate exterior angles. Comparing angles C and E are alternate interior angles. Alternate interior angles are congruent. It's saying to prove that angles D plus E equals 180 degrees. D and E are same side interior, and they are, in fact, supplementary. So this is a true statement. And then angle B and F are corresponding angles, which means they are congruent. All right, so that last problem we did together, guys, is kind of bothering me. The answers, how it doesn't match. So before I share this with you guys, I'm going to switch these equations around so that our obtuse angle is going to be more than 90 and our acute angle is going to be less than 90. Okay, anyway, I just want to make sure when you see it, it's going to look different than the one we just solved. All right, so then it says if the measure of angle 1 is 23, then what is the measure of angle 2? Well, this little sign right here tells us that 3 and 4 are complementary. We see this straight line, which means all 4 angles would be supplementary. Since all 4 are supplementary and these are complementary, that means that angles 1 and 2 have to equal 90 degrees. So if this angle 1 is 23 degrees, and if I subtract 23 from 90, what do I get? 67. Angle 2 is 67 degrees. All right, angle 4 is 69. What is the measure of angle 3? Well, once again, these are complementary. So 90 minus 67 would be, or 69, sorry, is a 9. That would be 60. That would be 21 degrees. 21 degrees. Sorry, I told you I can't do simple math. All right, the measure of angle 2, if that's 70, is asking what is the measure of angle 4? If the measure of angle 2 is 70, so these are now not accurate. Okay, so if this is 70, that means, I don't know, this has got to be 20, right? I assume this is telling us that this is no longer 90 degrees. I don't know, guys. If this was, so we would know if this were a straight line right here and this is 70, this combined angle would have to be 110. You know what? I don't know. I'm going to put a question mark. So before I release this video, I'm going to know the answer to this question. Okay. All right. I think that's the last one. Nope, there's a few more. So those are some follow-up questions. So you guys try to answer those on your own. I would love for you to message me and send me your answers. So as you're doing your work this week, refer back to this video, the slide deck, and the embedded videos. I'll be in the office on Thursday if you need me. I hope everyone has a great week, and I will check out what's going on with you guys next week.